Stephen Engle, I want to go beyond the headlines here, just to your perspective on the government, on Mr. Xi, and on Jack Ma. Is Jack Ma still part of a new 6-unit Alibaba?
Yes and no. He is the face, obviously, is the founder, co-founder of Alibaba. And I love this story that you just talked about meeting Jack Ma. I've met him many times over my 20 years at Bloomberg and 32 years now in Asia Pacific. And he always talked kind of, not nonchalantly, but a bit of a chest puffed out about regulation and that how he had to stay ahead of the regulators. Well, obviously, the regulators caught up with him in October or thereabouts of 2020, scuppering that big, multi-universe IPO for Ant Financial. And since then, the company has been absolutely obliterated, going from, I'm not talking about Ant. Ant's been sidelined, absolutely. But Alibaba's gone from a $800 billion valuated company down to about $220 billion. So now they're going to not break up, but they're going to kind of be reshuffled. Is this at government order? We don't know. Is it going to unlock more value than the pre-breakup, if you will, or pre-Ant breakup? We don't know yet. A lot of questions to be answered.
There is, though, one clear underlining feature here, which is government intervention in businesses that used to be the darlings of the nation. This person who used to be Steve Jobs, but even much more so in terms of the reception that he would get on stage and in these sort of rock star events that he would hold. Stephen, what does this say in terms of the climate right now and how quickly it is changing in modern China?
Well, the government's trying to say all the right things. Keep in mind, they're having the China Development Forum. In fact, in Beijing right now at the Diaoyutai State Guest House, just wrapped up today. Tim Cook is there, Ray Dalio, and a few others. But a number of big-name U.S. CEOs kind of stayed away, not necessarily wanting the blowback in the United States because of the relationship troubles between China and the United States. But then they're going to have their World Economic Forum called the Boao Forum that started today as well down in Hainan Island. They're trying to make the sales pitch back to skeptical global investors after 3 punishing years of COVID-0, as well these simultaneous regulatory crackdowns on the platform economy, on the private sector, on property, on online gaming, on so many sectors of the economy all at once. They're talking up the private sector. The government wants to support the private sector. But again, we've kind of rolled our eyes a little bit because we get tired of the narrative for 3 straight years of saying they want to do this and then acting differently. I'm gonna throw a little bit of caution on this. The market likes this right now. They think this is an opportunity to reinvigorate and get that entrepreneurial spirit back into a behemoth, which was a behemoth, Alibaba, but it's been dwindled down by regulation as well as largesse.
Stephen, what is the public reception to the intervention of the Communist Party of China in some of these previously much heralded companies that represented the mainland?
I think there's a lot of frustration. That's anecdotal. I mean, I do talk to my sources in mainland China. There is a bit of frustration. Few people will go on record to say there's frustration, but there's been a power grab, if you will, at the top of echelon of leadership there, with Xi Jinping almost becoming absolute ruler with his loyalists as his deputies. So there's some speculation or some skepticism, if you will, that the good old days, perhaps for the private sector, are past them. But again, we just don't know, Tom.
Stephen, what's so important here, and to use your years and years of expertise, behind those red doors in Beijing, they're obviously recalibrating after the political moment of November, after the coronation, if you will, of moving Mr. Xi forward. And then the reality is we're hearing reports from Bloomberg News and others that the Belt and Road Initiative, to be polite, is struggling. How successful right now is their business, is their finance, is the Chinese capitalistic experience?
It's struggling, obviously, coming out of 3 years of COVID-0 that really decimated confidence. It decimated investment coming into China. It perhaps also harmed, in a more, tangible way, the confidence that others have in China. So the Belt and Road Initiative has turned into what some would say is debt diplomacy in some countries that are having some debt issues, obviously. So Well, the jury's still out on the Belt and Road for sure.
Stephen, one final question, if I may, with great respect for your years of service in Hong Kong. Is Hong Kong, the new Hong Kong, is it open for business?
It seems like it's open for business, and they're sure doing everything that they can. And we'll have to see as well whether the IPO market is going to rekindle confidence in Hong Kong as well. And that's one interesting thing. I'll come full circle on the Alibaba story. Those 6 individual units, Daniel Zhang, the CEO, says each one of those 6 individual units will be able to do their own fundraising. And if that means IPO, that means IPO. It's going to be up to the heads of those individual divisions. That could, because no restructuring like this would come without the blessing of the central government in Beijing. So this could mean that IPOs could be coming back to Hong Kong.